Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised.
How do you really feel about it?
Step away from my anger about that.
All right, I'll just say it.
Hey there. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, where we're expanding the natural family planning conversation. I'm your host, Ellen Holloway. All right, welcome back to the podcast. This is a part of this large series that we're doing on seasons of NFP use. Today, we're talking about trying to conceive, kind of in general, trying to conceive when you have kind of typical, normal, healthy cycles. And I brought Kathleen on from our NFP in real life episodes because, you know, I think it just fits well.
We'll see how it goes.
So anyway, Kathleen, welcome to the podcast, even though you're here all the time.
Thank you. Happy to be a guest.
All right. So, trying to conceive in general, what we're talking about. And I'm gonna throw out some statements that are backed by research, but I don't have the research, so I'm not going to give you the numbers.
There you go.
How about that?
Yeah.
So basically, if you have a healthy cycle, you should conceive very quickly.
Yeah.
That is how your body is designed. And this is backed by research that the vast majority of women who do have healthy typical cycles will conceive within the first month of trying, or the first 2 months. It's like the vast majority within the first 2 months. Now, we say that normal is within the first 6 months. And that's kind of the normal range, but the vast majority are going to be the first 2 months. So this season that Kathleen and I are talking about is might be a day long. It might be an hour long.
If you're anything like me, yeah, it's not very long at all.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to conceive, and again, we want to extend the utmost care to this conversation for those of you who do not have the experiences that we do. Kathleen and I have both gotten pregnant very easily multiple times. And for those of you who are struggling with infertility, we feel for you so much. And we also completely understand if this is an episode that you just can't listen to right now. And that is 100%. Okay. And you need to honor that. If that's where you're at. We are really going to be speaking to, in this episode, we're going to be speaking to those of you who are listening and are like, I have 5 surprise babies. I've never been in this season of trying to conceive because I just get pregnant. Yeah. We're talking to the women who, decide oh yeah, well, I guess a baby might be okay. And then find out they're already pregnant.
That's me.
This is who we're speaking to, in this group, the group of women who find themselves very fertile.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least without issues.
Right. So Kathleen, tell me about your experience.
Yeah.
Charting when you're trying to conceive or just finding out that you have already conceived.
Yeah. Well, so that is kind of the funny thing is that when we find ourselves in a period of, you know what, maybe we should think about having another one sooner rather than later, maybe it's kind of time we start just loosening up the rules and stuff. I become very lax in charting. Now, and it's just kind of because I think that the more intentional I am and the more on it I am, for me personally, the more stressed out I get about letting my guard down. So, and let me explain a little bit. My first 2, I'm pregnant with my 5th. So my first 2 children, I conceived while quote unquote practicing Creighton. Now, Creighton did not work well for me at all. I did not understand. It was way too many like mucus classifications that I found very confusing. It wasn't a good fit for us. And so we ended up breaking the rules a lot, not even really knowing we were breaking the rules sometimes.
Yeah.
And having 2 surprise pregnancies. So, when you kind of have those surprise pregnancies, it's not always that beautiful picture of like, oh, wow, here we are. What a blessing. Sometimes it's just like, oh crap, and it's like, depending on where you are. I mean, we weren't in like a really secure financial situation either time. There was a lot of life, a lot of like both of us were working and had to work.
You know what? Let's pause for just a quick second. Cause like and I'll jump into my story in a second, but I want to speak to this like, oh crap moment.
Yeah.
Both of my babies, we knew exactly what we were doing. Like,
yeah,
it was like, I'm fertile right now. And it was like, yeah, no, the baby would be fine. Right. But still that positive pregnancy test ended up in a, oh crap.
Yes.
What the heck did we do? And I think that is extremely justified. Because in conceiving a child, you have just conceived an immortal soul.
Yes.
You now have the weight of raising this immortal soul to come to know Jesus Christ.
And getting them to heaven.
Yeah.
It's
like it is a big deal.
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm going with it, because basically, those two first pregnancies were just like, oh crap reactions. Right. And then after I had my second, we switched to symptothermal, which I understood way better and worked much better for us. And in charting with symptothermal, I came to understand my body so well, to the point that like, even if I'm going through a period of crappy charting, which we've already talked about on an episode, even if I'm going through a period of crappy charting, I still know where I am. I'm very aware of where I am in my cycle. I know exactly what days I have the potential for conceiving. I know exactly what days I don't. Because I mean, I'm pretty regular and I'm really blessed in that sense. But at the same time, if we hit this point, which we have, I mean, 3 times since now, where it's like, hey, maybe we should think about kind of having another. I cannot separate the knowledge of where I am in my cycle from like my daily life. Right. So it's like, again, knowing every second, like I could conceive today, or I have no chance of conceiving today, makes it really hard sometimes to let your guard down, because like you're saying, there is a weight to conceiving a child. There is a massive weight to conceiving a child. And, not even just, thinking about it spiritually and the reality of like, wow, this is an immortal soul that I am now going to be responsible for until the day I die and beyond. Right.
Yeah. Right. Cause after you die, you got to keep praying for that.
You got to keep praying for it. Right.
Yeah.
So not even that, but also like knowing what your body is about to undergo, knowing where you're going to be in a couple months in regards to your energy levels and what you have on your plate already with the children that you currently have, right? Like knowing you're going to be exhausted and you're going to start feeling terrible and you're going to have to push through and take care of these little people that are already there. Like there's a weight in every sense. And so I found that in our last 3 pregnancies, they were all, let's think about having another baby, or let's, maybe let our guard down and try for another baby. But there's still this mental weight to the whole thing, where it's like, it's not this easy. And to the point that like, even before this pregnancy that I'm currently in, I prayed to God that I would like just one day be able to experience that like joyful freedom of knowing that I've conceived, just that so many people like experience when they plan for it and they try and then they get it. And it's like this big celebration. And I have yet to have that, honestly, because, that doesn't mean I regret any of my children. That doesn't mean that I wish I didn't get pregnant, any of these 5 times. It just means that it's like, there's a real weight to it all. And you can feel the blessing of it. And really, I think you see the blessing as you progress. Like there is every single positive pregnancy test. There's an, oh crap, like, here we go again. Cause everything that's in store for you.
Right. It's like the first time it's almost less of an, oh crap than any future time. Cause you're like, oh, now I know.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly true. And again, it's not just the physical, but the spiritual and the emotional and all of that goes with it, again, it's very weighty. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
No. And I think it's I think it's really good that weight is on us. And like I was saying, like that, oh crap is justified because it's a really, really big deal. And it's good that we have that pause of like, wow, I have just, I just worked alongside my husband and God and created an immortal soul. Whoa.
Yeah, it's huge. Right. And, I think that, that there's probably a lot of people listening that maybe are like me. Like I went through a period where I felt bad for not feeling this like utter joy at a positive pregnancy test, and feeling this guilt for not being like just insanely excited that here comes another baby. Because I think that's sort of, you think of like commercials and stuff, you know what I mean? Like fertility commercials and and advertisements and all of these things projecting this view that like, oh, you're pregnant when you wanted to be, like, it's this great thing. And then if you don't feel that personally, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? Like maybe you're not a great mother, or maybe, there's like all of this self-doubt that can sort of seep in, when I don't think we need to feel that way. I really think that it's good. Like you just said, like, it's good that we understand the weight, but it's also okay that we aren't, that we realize like the reality of everything, if that's making sense.
Yes.
Yes. That it's not just this, like, I just want everyone to feel justified who might be in a similar situation. Yes. Like it's okay that you feel that way. There is a lot of gray area and a lot of nuance in practicing NFP. There's a lot of really good, and there's a lot that's kind of like hard to deal with. And I think this is one of those things, like being so in tune and in touch with your body, you can just end up in these situations where, it's like you understand it all, and it might make it a little hard to feel that immense joy. And that doesn't mean you don't love or you regret your children or anything like that. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I always tell, people, I can't imagine my life without one of my children.
Yeah.
Truly every single one of them is so unique and so different and such a gift to our family in such different ways, that it might just I think it really just shows your trust even more so, it's like, being able to just lean into God and being like, you know what, I don't feel awesome about this right now, but I'm going to trust that you have what's best in mind for our family, and that you're going to make this work, and we're going to see the beauty down the line. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. When it doesn't exactly go according to plan, or it does go according to plan, but you're still a little apprehensive, even though that was your plan. That's okay. That's just that's like that trust fall into the arms of God,
Yes.
That you're just following the promptings of the Spirit, the promptings that he's given you for your family and for your marriage. And you don't really know exactly, you can't see exactly how it's going to play out. You don't feel exactly right about it, but you just trust that the Lord's going to take care. And so far he has.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Oh, I just like, there's that saying that like a baby comes with a bread of loaf under their
loaf of bread under its arm.
That's right. Yeah.
Comes with
a bread of loaf. Is that what I said?
A bread of loaf. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
So my experience a little bit different. I mean, I'm behind Kathleen in number of children. I have
We've been married longer than you two though, so it's okay. You have time to catch up.
That's true. I do. I have time to catch up. I have two. Both of them, we knew exactly what we were doing. With our first, we had a very strong conviction after going to a Christmas Eve mass that like, God was like, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And we had like, we'd been married for a little over a year, and we had kind of been like, okay, you know, we're getting to a pretty comfortable spot. Like maybe in another couple of months, we'll like try for a baby. And God was like, no.
Love that.
And then I was pregnant like real fast. And it was great, but it was also like terrifying. And I think I took a pregnancy test. Like I was like home sick from work the day that I took a pregnancy test. I think I actually maybe like even called in sick, partially because I was like sick to my stomach if I was pregnant. Like I was like, I didn't feel good that day. I legitimately like could not have functioned very well in my place of work.
That's so funny.
But like, also I was just like, it may have just been because I knew I was going to take a pregnancy test that day.
You were anticipating a positive result.
And I was sick to my stomach of like what I was going to get. And of course it was positive. And I don't know why, for some reason I took it in the middle of the day. I didn't take it at the beginning of the day. And so I was by myself, homesick from work. Like that's a terrifying like way to take a pregnancy test.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard like so many stories of people that are like, oh yeah, I took my pregnancy test like in the Target bathroom. Like I bought my pregnancy test and then like took it there. Right. And I really feel for you if you have taken a pregnancy test in a not supportive environment. Like, and if you've ever taken a pregnancy test in a public restroom, like, I'm sorry if that's been your experience, because it can be really, really terrifying. Now this was in the comfort of my own home, but I was home alone. And like, I remember I like took the test and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do here. And actually like, I think I like went out to lunch. I like took myself out to lunch by myself, 'cause I was just like, I have to like get out of this house. I have to do something.
Oh my gosh.
So like, I was really feeling that weight of like, what have I done? And at the same time, like, I think maybe like a week prior or something, I had quit my job. And so like I had like given like a 6 weeks notice or something like that. I gave a really long notice, but I was really, really mad at my boss. And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll be gone in 6 weeks, you know? Which like, I obviously wasn't like that mad at my boss, 'cause I gave him 6 weeks.
You gave him 6 whole weeks.
But I was like, I'm trying to make a point here. I'm mad, but like, also I really care about the organization. And so I'm going to keep doing work.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
And so anyway, so I knew I was quitting, or I knew I was going to end my job soon and didn't have any prospect, of another job. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that I was going to be job searching pregnant, and that I was going to have to, like, when I accepted a job, be like, by the way, I'm already, 4 months pregnant, which I think I was 4 months pregnant when I actually did get a job. And, God bless God, right? Not that he can do that, right? But like,
so true.
He gave me a job at a pregnancy center. So like, they were like,
yay! They can't say no.
Anyway, that's not the point of this story. So my second was kind of an interesting situation. So, I just pulled up, I'm showing Kathleen on the Zoom. I just pulled up, this is my Read Your Body app.
Oh, yep.
With my history, my cycle history. So pre my first pregnancy, my cycles were either 27 or 29 days, always.
Mm-hmm.
And then after my pregnancy, you have the like couple of cycles that are like 60 days or whatever. And then they were hanging out in the like 30 to 32 range. Like they were a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Whatever, still typical. The cycle before I got pregnant with my second was a 21-day cycle.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
I have never had a cycle that short. With a 21-day cycle, that means I likely ovulated somewhere around day 17.
Yeah.
Or 17, sorry, 7.
I
with numbers today.
You said 17, but I knew what you meant.
I likely ovulated around day 7.
Yeah.
That means that if I had utilized any of the early days of my cycle, which using the symptothermal method, you are allotted those days of menstruation, depending on your previous cycle history. Correct. Which my previous cycle history showed that I've never had that short of a cycle.
Right.
If I were to use any of those days, they would be like, potentially I could get pregnant. And I did. Looking at that cycle, I'm like, honestly, kind of shocked I didn't get pregnant.
Yes. Yeah.
But we were not intending to have a baby at that time. And so that was a really scary cycle, because basically what happened was like my period ended and I had egg white mucus, and I was like, what the heck? Like, this is weird. And I had egg white mucus on day 5, And I'm like,
you went right from one into the other.
What is happening? I've never seen this before, And then the mucus goes away, the temperature rises, and I was like, it's only day like 12 of my cycle and I'm in the completely infertile time. Like, what is happening?
That's so funny.
Actually, it was like day 12. And I usually don't ovulate until like around here,
See, I've had like fluctuations in my cycle like that, but not that intense.
Yeah.
That's a big fluctuation.
Granted, this was my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was my 8th cycle postpartum. So I was still like within a range of potentially like wonky cycles.
You're like still readjusting a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of interested to see like when my cycle returns after this pregnancy, like what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had that super short cycle, super scary. Like the whole time we're like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. We just know it. Right. And then I got my period and I'm like, what?
Wow. See,
how am I not pregnant?
That did happen the cycle before this current pregnancy. We had again already like let our guard down, like, okay, like, yeah, we're open to another. And so we ended up DTD on
oh my gosh, I hate that. I hate that.
I said it with such disdain in my voice. Did you hear it?
Oh my gosh. Does it stand for doing the deed or doing the dirty? Either way.
I always thought it was doing the deed. I don't know.
I think it's doing the deed, but either way, gosh, it's terrible. It just throws out the window the absolute beauty that sex is and the marital union. Like it just throws it out the window and says, this is a horrible, awful, like thing that we only do when we need to have babies. And purity culture. Okay, sorry.
How do you really feel about it?
Step away from my anger about that.
All right, I'll just say it that having sex.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seriously, like in those Facebook groups, I don't understand. Like we are in a Facebook group about NFP.
We can use the word sex.
The letters SEX. It is not that hard. It's the same.
What if we do an S*X?
Oh my gosh, I'm rubbing my temples.
Now. I'm like, stoking the fire now.
All right.
Anyway,
I'm gonna stop talking right now. You tell me. I need to cool down.
I need to cool down over the words and the acronyms you just used. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so the cycle before this current pregnancy, we ended up having sex on peak day. And I was like, I'm 100% pregnant. Like given my history, I'm 1000% pregnant. And I ended up getting my period then. I was like, that is the first time. And I will say that while there was like sort of this sense of like relief, like, okay, like I'm not pregnant yet. Like that's okay. That's cool. There was also this sense of like, wait a minute. Like what's going on with my body that I'm not pregnant right now?
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's kind of scary. It's like, wait a second. Am I not healthy?
Yeah, exactly. It was this like, I don't know, sort of, I was experiencing two sides of one coin. Like it was just like, okay, cool. Like relieved, but at the same time, like kind of sad because that means like, what did I miss? And like, what, how is my body changing right now? And why is there no baby? Right. Like it was interesting to experience both feelings at one time, but then the next cycle, I ended up pregnant. So
which it's kind of to my point. Like we had this cycle, or we didn't have the cycle. I had the cycle. I had this weird cycle. Right. And the whole time I like, think I'm pregnant. And I think that mindset actually shifted my husband and I to like, actually, no, now would be a perfectly fine time.
Yes.
Like, now would be great. And now we have our adorable son who smiles at everything and just brings so much joy to our life. Right. So like, thank you, Lord, for that short cycle that like helped us realize like, yeah, you know what? It's time.
Exactly. It was like a gift to prepare you.
Exactly. So one aspect of like charting during this trying to conceive season that I want to speak to, and you may have experienced something similar. So both times it's been a little bit more mid-cycle that we have actually decided, let's go ahead and have a baby. And it's like right around peak time. And that pisses me off because there were if we were going to get pregnant anyway, there were a whole bunch of usable days I could have used before then.
That is very true. That's true.
I just wanted to speak to that before we just have a few more minutes. I wanted to speak to that before we close
that is
out.
a bummer.
It's a bummer. It's like,
it's a bummer.
But then, then you're pregnant and it's like, well, technically I have like all sorts of usable days, but
you have 9 months of usable days,
except you like really don't. This is for another episode.
Yeah.
But sex 8 and 9 months pregnant. Yeah.
You know what though? I find, it's not the ideal, but, but I do find that it's frequent because at that point I just want to go into labor. So it's like anything.
Yeah.
Anything to go into labor.
That's great.
Anyway, we'll save that for another episode too, if we want to.
Is there anything else you want to add about this season trying to conceive and the fact that truly, really, and we're speaking scientifically here, you may have a different opinion, but we're speaking scientifically. If your body is doing what it's supposed to do, you're going to get pregnant really quickly. Like that, that is a sign that your body is very, very healthy.
Yeah.
And so, for some women, it does take a couple months. For some women, there are infertility issues that cause it to take several months, several years.
Yeah.
That's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about that super short window of, should we have a baby? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoop. Now I'm pregnant.
And I think, because this is probably not the conversation people were expecting when they saw, trying to conceive, right?
Probably not.
They probably were thinking like, oh yeah, you really, really want to get pregnant and, you try and it's all great and it's wonderful and it's happy. So this is probably a little bit different, but I think that probably one that a lot more women than we realize are really going to be able to connect with. And I think that the one point I still want to make, which Ellen and I talked about a little bit before we started recording this, is that this is why discernment is such a huge piece to NFP. It's not just practicing fertility awareness. Otherwise we would just call it fertility awareness. Right. Discernment is such a key part of this. Because it's understanding, where you are in your life, where God is calling you to, where God is asking you to be, regardless of how you might feel right now, right? Like, that you can really, if you put enough like sort of prayer into it, and really seek to do God's will, that you might feel that apprehension to actually getting pregnant, but still at the same time feel a peace knowing that this is where God wants you to be. And I think that's something that we really need to think about a lot more. I think when we talk about like trying to conceive, we just think of it as this like, oh yeah, we really just want to have a baby right now. And that's not necessarily the case. It might just be that you are open to having a baby right now. Maybe you don't want to be pregnant right now, but you're open to it, and you're open to another life, coming into your family, and that constant communication with God in trying to seek out and do his will for your family, is really important in this stage. And so I would just, that's the one thing I think we didn't really mention that I would probably the last thing I'd want to end this with is that never underestimate how important prayer is in this season.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a great place to end. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Kathleen.
welcome. Anytime.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you're not following us on Instagram at Charting Toward Intimacy, send us an email. All that's in the show notes. Until next time.
See you guys.